Take a close look at your routine and consider where you can cut back. Beauty doesn't come from a bottle, it comes from within. Instead of stockpiling miracle goop, opt for natural beauty boosters like exercise, a healthy diet, plenty of water, and a good night's sleep. When revamping your routine, think low maintenance. When it comes to makeup, keep it minimal. Stick with neutral colors and play up your best features instead of painting all of them. Embrace the hair you were born with. If it's curly, don't try to make it straight. If it's straight, don't try to make it curly. And if you're of a certain age, consider letting it go grey. Lastly, clear your surfaces before turning in for the night. Stuff expands to fill the available space, and before we know it, we have more stuff than ever to deal with. A little healthy competition helps. Task each member of the household with purging their own things, and declare the person with the least amount of remaining stuff the decluttering champion. Alternatively, if a major purge seems overwhelming, tackle it box by box. Give yourself permission to move on. It's so liberating. Remember, your stuff is not a record of your life. You are. In your attic, basement, or garage, keep anything that serves as functional space, like workbenches or tables, completely clear. In addition to creating a neater, safer environment, vertical storage has other benefits as well. Consider limiting the contents of your attic, basement, or garage to what fits on your shelving or vertical storage. For example, restrict yourself to just 1 or 2 boxes of seasonal decorations and select your favorite pieces until you've filled the allotted containers. A room looks more elegant when decorative pieces are kept to a minimum. Finally, strictly limit any memorabilia or sentimental items you choose to keep. Finally, a word about furniture. In short, if your attic, basement, or garage isn't a living space, it doesn't belong there. From now on, follow the rule. When one piece of furniture comes in, one goes out, and not out to the garage. Life is more exhilarating when you live with less. When you decorate with nature, you have a fresh look in every sense of the word, and better yet, nothing to store. Second, pursue sports and hobbies that require little equipment. Third, resist the urge to buy the latest and greatest tools. Additionally, consider doing a one-a-day declutter. These areas provide ample opportunity to purge your household of excess stuff. At minimum, conduct a massive decluttering session once a year. The key word here, however, is symbolize. The gift itself is nothing more than an object representing a certain emotion or intention, which absent that object still remains. For most people, the act of giving is what's important, and they don't give a second thought to the object after it changes hands. It's the thought, not the thing, that counts. From now on, when you receive gifts that are not to your taste, put them right into your donation box. It's much easier to part ways with them if you don't let them settle in. Or consider re-gifting it. You'll save some money and keep the spirit of the gift alive. Instead of shopping, spend an afternoon choosing favorite charities with your loved ones. The most important thing to remember is that the stuff isn't the person. Your memories are infinitely more precious than anything they left behind. Our obligation, then, is not necessarily to keep the items we inherit, but to find the best possible use for them. If an heirloom has monetary value, treasure it, gift it, donate it, or sell it, but don't hold on to it because it might be worth something. Digitizing heirlooms are another way to save the sentiment without saving the stuff. Don't burden your heirs with the task of sorting through your clutter and agonizing over its fate. If you have significant items you'd like to bequeath, consult your children about them now and gauge their interest. Your success as a parent is evident in the men and women they are today, not the math homework they did in the 3rd grade. Your memories are far more valuable than mass-produced tchotchkes, so purge the tourist clutter without regret. Chances are your schedule is tight as it is, and if you can't say no to something, something has to give. It may help to look at it this way. Saying no to a less important activity means saying yes to a more important one. Don't feel the need to provide detailed excuses or long-winded explanations. Don't leave it open for negotiation or promise to think it over. That'll only make it harder to refuse in the end. That's the beauty of prioritizing. It gives us an action plan. The most straightforward way to set priorities is by ranking them. This method discourages procrastination by addressing the most dreaded jobs immediately and leaving the lighter stuff for later on. It also rewards you with a tremendous sense of accomplishment, which can provide a real boost to your energy and efficiency. By running your errands as you think of them, you not only waste gas, you waste time. Alternatively, imagine that before you stepped out of the house, you made a to-do list. By grouping similar activities and tackling them at once, we minimize the time needed for setup, cleanup, and warm-up. Once you get in the groove of doing a particular activity, you work more efficiently and expertly. By consolidating this task into one block, I avoid a million little interruptions during the day and am more productive. In that case, we have to recognize that we can't do it all ourselves and learn to delegate tasks to others. Delegation can be especially beneficial if you're running your own business. Good enough. Those 2 words changed my life and put me back in control of my time. They lowered my stress, brightened my outlook, and made me more enthusiastic to take on life's challenges. In 99% of the stuff we do, perfection is superfluous. It's not necessary, not expected, and likely won't be noticed or appreciated. Delegation means trusting others to do the job and letting them take responsibility for its quality. Once you accept good enough from yourself and others, you'll be amazed at how much you can accomplish. What we really need to do is give ourselves a break. We need to step back, examine all the expectations, and question whether they're really worth the time and energy we're expending to fulfill them. That's the beauty of minimalist living, being satisfied with what's enough to meet our needs, rather than wasting our time, money, and energy to fulfill lofty or unrealistic expectations. When we're content with enough, life becomes infinitely easier, more pleasant, and less harried. It's very liberating. One solution: set limits on the number of activities in which you're involved. If we decide to take on a new commitment, we must give up an old one. The objective is to leave some time open, empty, and free. Instead of always doing, we want some time to just be. However, when we set aside time to just be, we're not wasting it, we're cherishing it. We're engaging in an incredibly fulfilling pursuit, one that'll relax us physically, strengthen us mentally, and nourish us spiritually. And in the process, we stop defining ourselves by what we do and start to realize who we are. Before buying, we must consider the entire life cycle of a product to make sure its purchase won't do more harm than good. Instead of toiling away as consumers, we can become minsumers instead, minimizing our consumption to what meets our needs, minimizing the impact of our consumption on the environment, and minimizing the effect of our consumption on other people's lives. So, what do we have to do to become consumers? It's simply a matter of not buying. By simply not buying, we accomplish a world of good. We avoid supporting exploitative labor practices, and we reclaim the resources of our planet, delivering them from the hands of corporations into those of our children. Reducing, however, is the unsung hero of this trinity: reduce, reuse, recycle. Because the less we buy in the first place, the less we need to recycle. Reducing, on the other hand, eliminates the entire troublesome process altogether. Each item we don't buy is one less thing to be produced, distributed, and disposed of. We should develop a habit of asking why before we buy. Remember, when we purchase an item, we assume responsibility for its entire life cycle, including its proper disposal. None of us want our grandchildren to inherit a world full of landfills. Keep in mind when you're tempted to toss that soda can or newspaper in the trash. When you're shopping, favor products that can be recycled over those that can't. As consumers, we aim to purchase as little as possible. Therefore, we want the stuff we buy to last a long time. Although price isn't always a gauge of quality, low cost isn't typically associated with longevity. And while replacing the item may not break the bank, we must consider the environmental costs of doing so. Finally, avoid disposable products whenever possible. Natural materials don't require the same energy inputs and are significantly easier to dispose of and recycle. Favor those products with the least amount of packaging or packaging that can easily be recycled. We should take it upon ourselves to learn which manufacturers employ fair labor practices and which ones don't. Also, inspect the origin label before you buy something. If the product was made in a region known for environmental destruction or exploited labor, pass up the purchase and move on. Your desire to save the world saves space in your closet, and your desire to save space in your closet saves the world. How wonderful is that? In fact, the more we demand domestic goods over imported ones, the more likely we'll see a revival in local manufacturing. When we buy local, we not only save the environment, we also strengthen our communities. Sharing is a wonderful consumer strategy. The key is realizing that we don't have to own everything we need. Sharing enables us to meet our needs while bypassing the consumption cycle, making our homes more spacious and our planet more sustainable. We all know that quality of life has nothing to do with consumer goods, and stuff is not a measure of success. With minimalist living comes freedom from debt, from clutter, and from the rat race. Most importantly, we redefine ourselves by what we do, how we think, and who we love, rather than what we buy. By purging the excess from our homes, our schedules, and our minds, we empty our cups, giving us infinite capacity for life, love, hopes, dreams, and copious amounts of joy.